All right, it's Mark back here with Understanding English Grammar, and we're going to take a look real briefly at what's going on in Chapter 2 here in Martha Cullen's textbook. You might want to look at this as a kind of boot camp that if you perform all the push-ups and run the laps and run the stairs and do all the exercises in here, it's going to get you to be able to see what each particular word is doing in every sentence. This is going to help you with your error analysis as a teacher, and it's going to help you become a much clearer and better writer. All right, now two terms are mentioned in Chapter 2, the form classes and the structure classes. Okay, these refer to every single little word that you see happening in the sentence. For more detail on the form classes, you want to look at the whole thing in Chapter 12. That looks at those in depth. And then the structure classes look in Chapter 13 are looked at in depth. But for now, you want to just think about it this way. Form classes are your nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs, okay? If you start naming these things, they become easier to see in the sentence. All right, the structure classes are numerous, but we're just going to think about a couple of them right now. Your determiners and your prepositions. Okay, easy to remember that these are the form classes if you just write it like this. Okay, there's 4 of them. It's the form classes: nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs. Okay, now let's take a look at one of the sentences in Chapter 2. You with me, Kenny? We got my son Ken performing the camera work for us today. Can you read this one out for us, buddy?
A huge crowd of students
lined
the streets for the parade.
Fantastic. This guy ought to be a singer. All right. Now, what we're going to be doing as we go through the book is try to figure out what's happening in each sentence, what each word is doing, and naming these things. And just trust this process because it's going to get you to see things a lot clearer. Now, we want to look at these determiners because these are the things that let us know where our nouns are in the sentence. And once we know what the nouns and the verbs are, we can figure out what's happening. A noun, by definition, can be made possessive, and it could be made plural, and it's usually indicated by a determiner. A determiner is these kinds of words: a, the. There are lots of other ways. Some numbers, possessives are used as determiners. These are things that let us know where our nouns are. So let's just figure out what the nouns are. Can you see any nouns in here, Kenny? Streets is a noun. Why? Because it's got a determiner, right? And it's plural. Got to be a noun. What else?
Parade.
Parade. Why?
Because it's kind of a thing.
It's kind of a thing, right? And it has a determiner, right? And what else?
Crowd.
Crowd has a determiner too, right? There's another noun. Okay, and we have students is made plural, so that must be a noun too. Okay, we're already beginning to see what's going on in the sentence because we can identify the nouns. Can you tell me what our main verb is?
Lined.
Yeah, what happened? It lined the street. So this is our verb here. And already we have a subject and a predicate. All this together is noun phrase 1. All this together is the predicate of the sentence. Okay? If you could just do that for now, you're doing pretty good. Where would you separate the subject and the predicate in sentence number 2, Kenny?
We.
All right. Because that's your verb. What about the number 3? Some residents of the community spoke passionately for the protection of Mauna Kea.
At spoke.
Spoke. Right here, okay? Here's our whole thing here, right? This whole thing is going to be noun phrase 1. This is the subject. These are the people. Noun phrase 1 subject is how you label that. This is the thing that's doing the action. What did they do?
They spoke passionately.
Okay, and we'll get to all that stuff, you know, all those little words later on in further chapters. But here's how this is going to be made way easier, okay? If you can identify your prepositions, you're going to be able to filter out a lot of the stuff that's going on in the sentence and get to the meat of it, which is what's the subject and what is the main verb. Okay? Now, if you know what the prepositions are, check out what you can do. Okay? Of students, that's a prepositional phrase. For the parade, that's a prepositional phrase. Okay, and then we're left really with the simple meat of the sentences: crowd, line, streets. How about on this one here? On sunny days, prepositional phrase, time and place. We lounge. On the lawn, prepositional phrase. Between classes, prepositional phrase. And we're left with the meat of the sentence. This is what's happening in our sentence. Now, how do you know what all the prepositions are? Well, we're going to start with our morning prayer over here. This is what you guys want to do every morning when you wake up. You have a list of these prepositional phrases on your website, and it's tagged at the bottom of this particular lesson. And you want to take a look, first of all, how they're written. They're all alphabetical. They're in groups of 7, and there's 7 going all the way down. My English teacher in 7th grade, a second language speaker named Ms. Torres, is the one who taught us how to memorize these prepositions. And we need a little beat for this to happen. Can you clap for us, Ken? That's a little fast. Let me give you the tempo. Not my tempo. Keep going. Here we go. Aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along. Good. Amid, among, around, at, before, behind, below. Beneath, beside, between, beyond, but, by, down. During, except, for, from, in, into, like. Near, of, off, on, over, past, since. Through, throughout, to, toward, under, underneath, until. With, within, without, up, at, as. Okay? That's pretty annoying. That's your morning prayer. But if you commit all these to memory, according to the Ms. Torres method, you're going to have big chunks of the sentence that you'll be able to put on the side for later before you figure out what's going on with noun phrase 1 and your verb and so forth. Look at this one already. Aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along, amid, among, around, at, before, behind, below, beneath, side, between, beyond, but, by, down, during, except, for, from, in, into, like, near, of. Look, there's one. Good. For, there's another one. Of, there's another one. You start to see the entire phrase as something that's acting as an adjective or an adverb. Okay? But if you memorize these now, your life is going to be much, much easier. All right? So, as always, start pounding stuff down in your notebook, and we will see you in Chapter 3.